Okay, ART2, we are going to be diving into a reverse method of doing value, and that's when we start with a dark surface, and instead of adding shadows like we usually do with a number 2 pencil, we are now adding the highlights because the darks are already there. Just like when we had a white sheet of paper, the whites were already there and we just added the darks. Okay, so now we're doing it kind of backwards, and we're going to start with a review on the drawing techniques. So those drawing techniques, we're going to do some value scales. So grab a black sheet of paper. I emailed you all saying you would need a black construction paper or cardstock. This is about a half sheet of black cardstock. So I'm not going to use a whole page. And I'm just drawing 4 rectangles for my 4 value techniques with mark making. Okay? And hatching is when lines all go in the same direction. So usually the closer the lines, the darker the value. Well, now the closer the lines, the lighter the value. So I'm going to do a bunch of diagonal lines all going the same way, very close to each other, because the closer they are, the lighter the value. Then I'm going to gradually get darker as I go to the right. And they get more spaced between so that the dark can show through from the paper. So it's going from light to dark. Next we have cross hatching. And these are when lines cross, so they're going in more than one direction, hence cross hatching, duh. So then lines are still very close, but then lines are also crisscrossing this way, kind of like a hashtag. Or like a fence. Notice how your lines do not always have to go all the way across. They can kind of stop halfway, and I can kind of choose where I want my marks to go. That still creates a cross-hatching texture. Especially when we get to a lighter value, you're going to have very few cross-hatching marks. Okay, so light to dark. Then we have scumbling. And these are controlled scribbles. And they're not just loop-de-loops, okay? It goes in every which direction, more than just going around and around. So it's like a lot like a tumbleweed. Then they get more spaced and wider. Okay, same thing for here. I can kind of pick up my pencil and the more space they get. Last one is a bit noisy and tedious, and it is our stippling. And that is when we do a bunch of little dots. Okay, and it's very effective for a lot of things. So don't think like, oh, it's so long, I have to do this for. It works for a lot of things that you are going to be drawing possibly, and it looks pretty neat as well. So it's a really great drawing technique, so I wouldn't throw it out the window too fast when it comes to your project you're about to do. I'm kind of doing a little bit more dashes than just plain dots. Then more spaced. Next up, we're going to practice with drawing this apple. This picture is on canvas for you to practice this with. The key thing when we're working with this is that there are no outlines we're going to start with. We are going to start with these highlights of the apple, the leaf, okay? We're working with those shapes first, and then everything else will come together as we go. So kind of watch me work through this and on how I kind of leave the outlines alone and add textures.